Hi guys, today we are reading chapter 9 of The Man Who Loved Clowns, and it's titled Silver Dollar City. After supper, I sketched another swan on cardboard and took it to the garage where I asked Dad to cut some shapes for me out of basswood. He uncovered his bandsaw and scratched his head thoughtfully as he looked at the drawing. Why not do something different with this one? Like what? Open his wings. I'm not ready for that, I replied. I haven't even carved one yet without breaking its neck. If you break the whole batch, I can always cut more. Tossing a pencil to me, he said, Come on, give this little fellow a chance. Let him spread his wings and fly. Doubtfully, I sketched and erased and sketched some more. Dad grinned when he saw my final drawing. That's good. Now he'll look like a full-grown trumpeter and not an ugly duckling. I spent the rest of the evening holding a block of wood, but I didn't do much carving. I kept thinking about a certain pair of eyes. Green eyes, my favorite color. When I went to bed, sleeping was a long time coming. My mind worked overtime thinking about Tree and Avenel, and I was surprised to find I wanted to share Silver Dollar City with them. Before daylight, the next morning, we were sailing down Highway 65 south for the 3-hour drive to Branson, pulling the furniture trailer behind us. Punky slept most of the way. Time meant nothing to him. And even though we'd explained about getting up early, he'd stayed up to salute all the flags on TV. I dozed for a while, but when the sun came up, I sat looking at the scenery and wondering idly if the Wildcats had beaten the Tigers at the game. Punky was taking up about 3/4 of the back seat, his legs stretched out beside me and his head resting on a pillow in his lap. You'd think it would break his back, but even in his bed at home, he folded himself in half like that to sleep. 5 more miles to Branson, said Dad at last, rubbing his neck and stretching his shoulders. Del Rita, you better wake up Punky, Mom said. I ruffled the hair around Punky's bald spot where he was the most ticklish. He quivered a little and grunted. Time to wake up. Wait a minute. Come on, sleepyhead. We're almost there. Wait a minute. This went on for about 3 miles before Punky roused enough to sit upright. Even then he kept his eyes closed against the glaring sun and bobbled lazily like a buoy in the water. Mischievously, I reached for his jelly bean lunchbox and said, If you leave this in the car, you won't have to lug it around all day. You rascal, hands off, said Punky, instantly alert as he snatched the box from me. He checked his contents carefully. 2 clowns, a flag, his red birthday socks, a handful of broken crayons, and the Ronald McDonald cup. Then he folded his arms and pouted, his chin jutting out so far that his bottom lip covered his top lip, and he resembled a little old man with no teeth. Punky's mad and I'm sad, and I know what will please him, I said, chanting the rhyme that I used when I knew I'd gone too far. A bottle of ink to make him stink, a bottle of wine to make him shine, and a pair of monkeys to tease him. Don't want no monkeys, said Punky, but there was a hint of a smile in his eyes. You smell good this morning, I said. What's that aftershave? Some say, replied Punky, jerking a thumb toward Dad. Dad's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. It's wicked cowboy, he said. Just right for sweeping dance hall girls off their feet. Yeah, buddy, said Punky, shining his silver trim on his cowboy hat with the sleeve of his jogging jacket. His grumpy mood was already past, and he was ready for action. I grinned at the thought. At best, Punky's action would be in slow motion. When we got close to the auction arena, a guard stopped us from going into the parking lot. "It's full," he said. "You'll have to park here on the main road and walk in." Dad thanked him and turned to Mom. "Do you want to get out here? No sense in all of us wearing out our shoe leather. We've got to save some for... Hey, why don't we take those two hooligans on to Silver Dollar City? We could meet up with them this afternoon, after you and I have looked at antiques." "Let's do it, Dad," I said eagerly, hanging over the back of his seat. "I don't know," Mom said. "That's a lot of responsibility for Del Rita. I can handle it." "Surely, it just makes sense. Punky would be bored to tears around all that furniture. And think of the depression glass and expensive crystal." Mom gave in at the mention of the glassware. Punky was clumsy, and one wrong step could cost several $100s in damages. "Well, okay," she said, and Dad swung the car back onto the highway. Silver Dollar City was 9 miles from Branson on a winding, hilly stretch of Route 76. The view to our left was breathtaking. Hills and valleys and countless waterfalls, all muted by the morning mist rising off Table Rock Lake. In some places, the guardrail along the road's edge seemed like small protection from sheer drop-offs into empty space. Dad kept glancing in the rearview mirror. Bringing that trailer into these hills wasn't such a good idea. It's top-heavy without a load, and I can feel it bucking against us every time I touch the brakes. "It's creepy," I said, "like riding fire in the hole." Mom shot me a worried look. "Don't take Punky on that ride. It's dangerous for anybody with a weak heart." "I know. I'll go later with Dad." She gave me the bottle of nitroglycerin and a whole list of do's and don'ts. "Don't let Punky out of your sight. Don't let him get too tired. If he gets hot, go inside where it's air-conditioned and watch a stage show. Remember, there's a first aid station across from the blacksmith's shop." Finally, Dad steered into Silver Dollar City parking area and stopped. He gave me $50, the most I'd ever held at one time, and said with a wink, "Don't spend it all in one place." Mom checked her watch and said, "We'll meet you at 2 o'clock at the general store." Punky and I got out, and as Dad backed the trailer into a parking space so he could turn around, Mom hung out the window, blowing kisses and hollering, "Have fun!" Our tickets cost $36, but they would entitle us to go on all the rides and see all of the shows as often as we wanted. Thinking how $50 wasn't much money after all, I jammed the remaining 14 into my jeans pocket with the $10 bill I'd brought from home. Punky, gripping his lunchbox with one hand and me with the other, tugged me toward the music and laughter and friendly atmosphere that was Silver Dollar City. The place was bustling with people in old-fashioned costumes, from cowboys with 6 guns and leather chaps to dance hall girls with plumed hats, frilly dresses, and button-top shoes. At the gazebo, a band was playing bluegrass music, and a character who called himself Sheriff Howdy High Pockets was handing out badges to little kids. Punky marched right up to get a badge of his own and stood grinning as I pinned it to his t-shirt. I was itching to go to the wood-carving shop, but I figured Punky would be easier to keep track of if I tired him out first. Besides, the city was already crowded, and the lines for the rides would get longer as the day wore on. First, we rode the steam engine train, where Punky's hat was stolen by a band of robbers. "Heads Off, he ordered when he finally got it back. We rode the water toboggan and took a float trip through the flooded mine before the warm, spicy smell of simmering apple butter convinced us it was time to eat. After a $13 lunch at the lumber camp restaurant, we strolled around, looking in the shop windows. The brooms, leather goods, candles, and apple head dolls filled the air with a delicious potpourri of smells. My calf muscles began to tighten from so much walking on hilly ground, and my knees kept wanting to buckle and set me down somewhere. Our jackets became 10-pound weights on my arm. Punky had little rivers of sweat trickling down from beneath his cowboy hat. Let's go watch a stage show, I said. Yeah, DJ. The Silver Dollar Saloon was cool and dark, and the show lasted about half an hour. When it was over, Punky said, I'm starved. Munching on donuts and sipping soft drinks, we watched wheat being ground into flour at the mill. By then, there was just enough time to visit the wood carving shop before meeting my parents at 2.